Yep, I see it's live, everyone, on the Facebook page.
Very good. So ready to go? All right, I will call this meeting to order. I'm sorry for all the glitches, and I hope we can get through this all right and that people listening in will be able to see what we're doing. I'm starting to get some pictures now, Ollie.
Excellent.
All right, do we have any disclosure of pecuniary and general nature thereof? Seeing none, hearing none, we're going to the motion adopting the minutes. Diane?
Your worship, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Marks, seconded by Councillor Rowe, that the minutes of the regular planning meeting of council dated Monday, April the 27th, and the minutes of the special meeting of council dated Monday, May the 4th, 2020 be adopted.
Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll ask Diane to take the vote.
A recorded vote. Councillor Cook? Yay or nay?
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz?
Yay.
Councillor Fair?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks?
Yes.
Councillor Roberts?
Yes.
Councillor Rowe?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
The motion passes. Carries.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome at this point, I'd like to welcome Brad Fishley, who's been patient. Brad, we're delighted to have you here, and I know it's it's going to be a bittersweet one because we're going to lose you soon, but I'm going to ask you if you would like to do your report now for the detachment for this year.
Thank you, Your Worship, and councillors. Thank you for inviting me to your meeting to provide this report. I know that everyone has a copy of the report in either electronically or hard copy, so I'm not going to read the entire report. I know that you can all read. I'm going to start on the comments from the Chair of the Police Service Board, Mayor Martin, and myself are on page 3. I'm not going to go through those. Page 4 is our organization chart. It hasn't changed in the last 3 years, so I'm not really going to go through that. Page 5 is our auxiliary report, and you can see that in 2019, our auxiliary officers provided a total of just over 1,700 hours of volunteer service, which is very good. We currently have a complement of 14 members in the unit, and we have a couple that have recently new members that have been accepted, but unfortunately because of COVID, we're waiting to get them trained. The courses are on standby. So page 6 goes into our action plan, our crime management, our traffic management strategy, and again, those haven't changed. This is the last year, 2019, of a 3-year strategic plan, 2017 to 2019. So this will be the beginning, 2020, of a new strategic plan going forward, and we're still waiting on direction from General Headquarters forward with that. So again, the COVID has kind of got things a little bit behind. On page 7 is the community satisfaction survey. That's the last one that we've had. That was done in 2017. We are due for another survey this year. And just a little shout out for our community policing committees. We have very strong community policing committees. They're all doing very good work. We did not have our all committees meeting this year, again, because of COVID, but I do stay in touch through our liaison officers with the good work that they're doing. On page 8 and 9 is a report from our community mobilization engagement officer. That's Troy Carlson. Again, I won't go through all of that, but it's quite easy to see just how busy he is and how engaged he is with the community. He sits on a number of committees within the community and actually chairs a couple of those committees, working very closely with our community partners and stakeholders. And on page 10, 11 is the report from our community safety officer. That's PCI Crutzen. He's been our CSO for 4 years now. He's actually going to be coming out of that position on the 22nd of May. He's actually going to take some parental leave for a period this summer, and when he comes back, he'll be going back on shift. So we're in the process of looking for a new community services officer, but Adam has done a really good job for us especially on the social media side. He's kind of moved us into the new social media aspect of that position, which we didn't have prior to him being there. Page 12 and 13 is a report from our community street crimes unit. The work that they have done, they've been around now for a couple of years, but the work that they have done is just astronomical. Some of the highlights of some of their big cases are there, the funeral break-ins. I know you're all aware of those break-ins we had across the county and in other counties as well. And our street team was instrumental in actually catching those culprits to bring them before the courts now. There are some other investigations there. Again, I'm not going to go through each one of those, but needless to say that our street team is doing some amazing work putting bad guys in jail. On page 14, it starts our detachment statistics. The first chart there is our calls for service, and that's total calls, include our provincial service usage, as well as the calls for our group, Elgin Group Police contract. And 2019, our calls were up. They've been on an upward scale over the last 3 years. So just over 15,000 calls in 2019. Just below that, there is a breakdown of the number of calls per municipality. And you can see that Central Elgin in 2019 had 3,685 calls for service. That's up from 3,117 in 2018 and up from 2,500 in 2017. So certainly we're seeing increases in calls for service for the Central Elgin municipality. On page 15, there's a report on traffic safety. There's a chart there that shows our crashes in 2019, and our total number of crashes were up. We had 770 property damage collisions, up from 597 in 2018. 136 personal injury collisions, up from 116. 8 fatal crashes, up 1. And we had 370 car deer collisions, up from 266 in 2018. And I've spoken with some of the experts on trying to determine why our car deer collisions were so high, and I'm told it was a bit of a perfect storm. We've had 2 mild winters in a row for the past 2 winters, so that's increased our deer population. Our coyote population has also increased, and that's causing the deer to run more, which is obviously an impact factor when it comes to crashes with deer. So there's a report there also speaks about our ride checks. We did 548 static ride checks in 2019. We took 109 impaired drivers off the road. We also issued 102 suspensions for drivers that didn't meet the over 100 milliliters of alcohol, but were over the 50, so they get a 12-hour, 7-day, or 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day suspension. Our festive ride was in operation from November 23rd to January the 2nd. During that time, we conducted 97 ride checks, and we took 9 impaired drivers off the road and issued 3 driver's license suspensions. As far as the causal factors for our crashes, we had 1 fatal crash that was alcohol involved, 1 fatal crash that had no seatbelt, and 1 distracted driving that resulted in a fatal crash. And in addition, we had 21 other crashes that were alcohol involved. We didn't have any that were identified as seatbelt, but that's a kind of a misleading statistic, because obviously if the person is, if they're up and walking and out of the car, we have to take them at their word when we ask them if they're wearing their seatbelt, and not very often do we get somebody to admit that they weren't, even if they weren't. So aggressive driving, 125 collisions from aggressive driving, and 95 collisions from distracted driving. Page 16 is the marine safety report. Our marine hours last year, we had 454 hours. They changed the reporting system for our marine units last year, and one of the statistics that we lost in that process was the number of vessels that were checked, and we didn't really come to realize that until sometime later, so we weren't able to pull those stats. And we had 8 charges as a result of the Marine Patrol. Crime prevention on page 17. We had 1,252 criminal charges last year, up from 712. It stands to reason with an increase in calls for service, we're going to have an increase in charges as well. But a large increase in criminal charges obviously takes our officers away from some of the time that they would have put towards some other enforcement, and our POA enforcement. Our traffic tickets are down slightly at 5,029. We also were down on our foot patrol last year. We had only 212 hours and 961 hours of focus patrol. False alarms, we had 299 false alarms, down from 343 in 2018, so that's a good statistic. However, 911 calls, not so good. We had 1,206 911 calls, and that's up from only 822 in 2018, so that's a pretty significant increase. Break and enters, we did have an increase in break and enters across the county, a total of 160 compared to 99 in 2018. And Central Elgin actually led the way there. You can see that you were up from 29 in 2018 and 51 in 2019. So that's a very substantial increase. On page 18, our domestic violence. Again, domestic violence was up. We had 294 domestic violence occurrences in 2019 compared to 193 in 2018. And in Central Elgin, you were up as well with 86 in 2019 compared to 60 in 2018. Other crimes, we had 1 robbery. Our assaults were up considerably at 226 across the county. Sexual assaults at 34. Our theft unders were down at 223. Our theft overs were down slightly at 89. Theft from motor vehicles were pretty much the same at 85. Mischiefs were pretty much the same at 133. And auto thefts were pretty much the same at 80. Our drugs, we had 21 occurrences. Our street teams executed 14 search warrants and laid a total of 22 charges in relation to those search warrants. Page 19 is just a little shout out to our Crime Stoppers. I always like to give them a shout out for the good work that they do. They handled 1,789 tips in 2019. The information they provided to us resulted in us clearing 36 criminal cases, making 32 arrests, taking 2 weapons off the street, and over 61,000 in seized drugs. On page 20 is the financial report. Our overtime in 2019 was up slightly at 3,980 hours. That's the overtime that would be specifically for the contract. It does not include overtime on the provincial side of the house. And there's a breakdown there for each one of the what the overtime was used for as well, on a percentage basis. Criminal record, or sorry, the revenue received, just over $46,000 in revenue received. And of course, that all goes back to the municipalities. Criminal record checks, we had 2,590 criminal record checks. So that's, out of those, we had 161 people that required fingerprints with the RCMP. I believe that was down slightly from 2018. So ride grant, we did receive a ride grant in 2019 of $13,539.38. All of that money was spent to provide officers at ride checks throughout the county, most of those during the festive ride season. So that is the year-end report, subject to any questions that you may have.
Do any of you have a question for Brad? Probably just as easy to just say your name because I can't see most of you.
Madam Mayor, it's Colleen.
Colleen, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to thank Brad for the report. And I know 911 calls, fake, false 911 calls of being an issue, and it came up at one of our earlier council meetings, and I just wondered if there was any progress towards solving for that.
So 911, they're mostly pocket dials, with the introduction of cell phones, and everyone from pretty much age 11 up is carrying a cell phone these days. And it's an issue all across the province. There's been a lot of attention provided across the province corporately and throughout the region. In addition, we've done some media work here within Central Elgin and within the County of Elgin as well. Unfortunately, we're just not getting through. I know that organizationally, they are working with cell phone providers to try to come up with ways to target reducing these calls. We have created a new policy now within the OPP. We used to send 2 officers to every 911 call. And now we have a new process now where the dispatchers have received training. And so if they receive a 911 hang up and they believe that it's not a situation, or they can show with a high % of accuracy that it's not a situation where there's an emergency, we're not dispatching officers now. So it's a new process that started halfway through 2019. We've kind of yet to see the results of how that's going to impact the service to our communities. We certainly haven't come up with any emergencies that we've missed so far, and hopefully that will continue to go that way.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, that's Dennis.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Just want to thank Inspector Fishley for the other report that was included in our package, the calls for service, the detailed report. It's good to see a report like that, because it's hard sometimes we have to justify to the members of the public the cost of policing. It's 1/6 of our budget in Central Elgin. We spend over $2 million on policing. So it's nice to see the report, and a detailed report showing the hours. There's almost 10,000 hours of service from the OPP directly to Central Elgin. It was good to see. So I just want to thank Inspector Fishley for that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's not a difficult report to provide. So it's all done through the computer, and it's pretty quick. So.
Here, Martin, it's Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
Just to Brad, I want to thank you for the report, but I had a conversation with Mayor McPhail this afternoon, and Duncan and I were on the hiring committee years ago. It's just amazing how fast the time has gone, and just want to wish you all the best, Brad. I think we made the right choice back then.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're right. It's been 11 years, and it's hard to believe that 11 years has gone by that fast. But I've certainly enjoyed my time here in Elgin County. Received a lot of support from all of the municipalities and from the Police Service Board all the way through, and it's been a very rewarding career for me. I've enjoyed myself here very much.
Anyone else have any comments or questions they wish to make? Fiona?
I just want to wish Brad all the best. So happy retirement, well deserved when you get it. I guess you get to kind of be in it already now anyways with what's going on, or you get to rest once you get into it. So enjoy. I think you deserve it. And it's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you.
Thank you very much, Fiona. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Special thing to thank Brad too. I'm sitting as chair of the Police Services Board for the last year, and I have really appreciated everything that Brad does and all the hard work and the great reports that he brings us. And it was a totally new group this year. All of us are brand new members of the committee, so it was interesting, and we learned an awful lot. And so, Inspector Fishley, I do wish you all the very best in your retirement, and we are going to miss you, and I'm glad you're staying in Elgin County.
Thank you so much. I was just going to say that I'm retiring, but I'm going to be hanging around. So we may cross paths from time to time, and I wish you all the best as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane, I believe we have two motions.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have two resolutions. The first one reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Marks, seconded by Councillor Rowe, that the 2019 OPP year-end report for the Elgin County Detachment, as presented by Inspector Brad Fishley, Detachment Commander, be received as information.
Any questions? If not, I'll ask Diane to call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries. We have a second motion, Madam Mayor. The motion reads, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Marks, that Mayor Martin and Central Elgin Council extend sincere appreciation to Inspector Brad Fishley and the Elgin County OPP Detachment for their service to Central Elgin and surrounding communities during COVID-19. And further, that Mayor Martin and Council congratulate Inspector Brad Fishley, Detachment Commander, on his retirement from the Elgin County OPP Detachment and express appreciation for the professional service that Central Elgin received during his tenure.
Thank you. And that's there, Brad. I'm going to ask Diane to call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The resolution carries, Your Worship.
Thank you all so
Thank you.
And I'm here till the 12th of June. So if you need anything or I can be of any further service, please just give me a call. Take care.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for being patient and joining us.
Thank you.
We're now moving to correspondence with action, and it is to do with the outdoor cannabis cultivation operation. And I'm going to ask Diane to read the motion, and then we'll discuss it.
Madam Mayor, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Kravitz, that email correspondence respecting outdoor cannabis cultivation operation regarding St. Thomas Municipal Airport property received from Steve Harris dated May the 5th, 2020 be received, and that Council direct staff to refer the correspondence to the City of St. Thomas and the producer, and that Council requests the City of St. Thomas and the producer to provide written comments/answers to the questions contained in the email, and further that Council request that a meeting be scheduled with the City of St. Thomas and the producer once the written comments have been received.
I believe my understanding was that we're going to ask the ratepayers, we're going to include the ratepayers in that meeting. Mr. Leach, is that correct? Yes, Mr. Leach is shaking his head yes. So the ratepayers that have requested this will also be included in that public meeting. Now, do you have any questions? Anyone?
Madam Mayor Martin, it's Tom.
Go ahead.
I guess we're probably 3 months ago now when I first brought this up under new business at our council meeting. And we've got a fair number of answers. Most of the answers we didn't like. I think I can certainly feel the frustration of the neighbors, and I think we got to keep the city their feet to the fire and look for some answers, because one thing that they did say, they were going to have everyone's water wells checked for a benchmark. To my understanding, none of that has happened yet. So I'm very disappointed in the city, to be very, very blunt. I know I wouldn't want to be a neighbor out there the way they've been treated, so I feel for them.
Our way, hopefully, they have to be answerable. And the neighbors have some very legitimate complaints, and it's very important that we listen to them. This dealt with. And comments or questions?
It's Donald
Madam Mayor,
Leach.
Colleen.
Madam Mayor, when we did receive the correspondence, I did have a conversation with city staff, Wendell Graves, city manager, Maria Conifal, city clerk, and then Jim McComb, the manager of planning for Central Elgin and St. Thomas, was also in the meeting. Respecting the water, what I was advised by St. Thomas was that initially the operation is going to use trucked in water. They're not looking to install a well. That may be something that happens later and would require permits, but initially the operation will rely on trucked water for irrigation.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Are there any other questions before we vote on the motion? Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you. One question. I was reading an article in Ontario, a January edition, and there were some areas such as Brant County and Burlington that in their rural areas, they've actually changed the zoning and made it zoning specific for such an operation. And one of the aspects they were looking at doing was taking it out of an agriculture and into a commercial business, if they could only be grown on commercial property. I don't know if this is something, they've done this months ago, and it's something perhaps we could look at doing in the future. I think we'll have to sit down with the planner, with Mr. McCombs, and ask these questions, see if there's anything we could do. And I think that's something that Central Elgin should perhaps do to generate additional revenue if these operations are going to be taking place. And another thing that the article we talked about was the minimum distance separations. The province is currently working on the MDS separations for the odor issue that the people had the concern about. So it's something the province is looking at right now. It's something we can't really do internally until the province sets out the rules on the guidelines. So it's something we are following. And this coming Friday, I have a meeting in Roma with the Roma board that I sit on, Rural Ontario Municipal Association. And this item is coming up for discussion in that meeting. So there'll be information coming after this Friday from that board. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else have comments or questions? Certainly we can look into what Dennis is suggesting. I would assume that Mr. Leach will look into that, but the motion at the moment is just to ask and the producer to answer these questions, and then we will call a meeting. If there are no other questions or concerns, I'm going to ask Diane to take a vote.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Councillor Cook?
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz?
Yes.
Councillor Fair?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks?
Yes.
Councillor Roberts?
Yes.
Councillor Rowe?
Yes.
And Mayor Martin?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move to correspondence for council's information. I'll ask Diane to read the motion.
Mayor Martin, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Marks, seconded by Councillor Rowe, that correspondence items number 1 through number 3 inclusive be received as information.
Is there any item on that list that you wish to take out?
Madam Mayor, it's Colleen.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Yes, it's just number 1 seems to be related to just what we were discussing about the airport and that area. So it seems like it's a logical request, and with the CAO's perspective, I would suggest endorsing that one.
Thank you,
And
Colleen. Go ahead.
if I could just add as well, just a comment, I guess, on number 2. It wasn't totally clear to me, but it sounded like if the municipality had any other areas that needed this special treatment for that CN would provide, that they were willing to consider doing that. So I just wondered if we were going to be taking advantage of that.
Jeff or Lloyd, do you wish to respond to that?
Sure, Mayor Martin. The municipality is not aware of any specific locations along the railway corridor where we need them to perform this maintenance for us. So no, we won't be asking for CN's help on this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Colleen has suggested taking number 1 out to endorse. I had thought the same thing. To me, it's dealing with that, some of the same issues that the other one did, and I thought it would be a good thing to endorse because it goes to the province. Any other thoughts?
I'll second that, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. So we'll be moving that we endorse that one, and Dennis will be seconding it. We'll be doing that motion in a minute. We're going to, the rest then we'll be taking the other 2 collectively. Any suggestions, any changes to that? I'll ask Diane to call the vote on the motion of taking the second collectively.
Yes, Mayor Martin. So I've changed that to correspondence items number 2 and 3. Be received as information. Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yeah.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes,
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
I'm now going to ask Diane to read the second motion to deal with item 1.
The motion reads, Madam Mayor, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Kravitz, that correspondence received from the City of Hamilton respecting a request to regulate and enforce odor and lighting related to the cultivation of cannabis plants be endorsed.
Thank you. Call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts, Councillor Roberts,
You're still muted, Fiona.
There, can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay, sorry, finger's not working, I guess. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Micro.
Councillor
Sorry.
Rowe
yes,
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the Chief CAO report 0820, the discharge of firearms bylaw. There's been a lot of discussion on this one, and I'm assuming maybe you know what motion we're going to want to make, so I'm going to ask maybe some discussion before we choose the motion. 2 options: just receive the concerns and file them, or we can ask staff to move toward developing a bylaw concerning the discharge of firearms in Central Elgin. And I believe Mr. Perrin was going to bring a map up. Is that correct, Mr. Leach? Yes. Okay. So discussion, do we want the map first, Mr. Leach? I won't be able to see it. Oh, maybe I can. I've got Lloyd.
Bill Fair, Ward 4, if I could speak to the issue.
Certainly, Bill.
Okay, I've been getting a lot of calls and a lot of reaction on this in this area. At first I was getting some information that was very skewed, just with comments against it, and my impression at first was that there was extreme dangerous shooting parallel to this public walkway and so on, and it turns out that that was not the case. I mean, still my preference is not to have shooting in the area, but I want to be very clear that it's one of the safest ranges you could possibly have. It's set up very, very well. They've done everything. There's only a line of sight for the shooting approximately 100 feet from a 50-foot high embankment that's at least a couple hundred feet wide. It is not parallel to any walking area. It's at an angle away from it. The brush and all the undergrowth has been completely cleared out so that there is absolutely no way that anybody's line of sight, if someone was there illegally on the property, they would easily be able to be seen. Now, what it seems as if because people started hearing the shooting, that it literally terrified a few people, because there were some people who were very scared when they hear shooting, which is understandable given the extreme number of gun violence issues that we're dealing with in the country. But I want to be very clear that all of this was legal. It is on proper property. It was researched prior by the property owner, asking OPP's opinion, asking Central Elgin's bylaw opinion. So at this point, there's absolutely nothing that was done wrong, other than the concern of the citizens about possible accidents or something happening. And I do want to be clear that I've had an overwhelming number of responses in support of the property owner. I've had other ones from the people up on the populated area. That went on for a while, but then it got to be some not very civil responses and suggestions, so the Facebook got shut off on that. So at this point, what I would, as far as the bylaw, what I would really like to see is we should deal with something that makes sure that there is not shooting in or at least a certain distance from a populated area. And I think maybe as far as this one in this private property between the corners of Talbot Street, Wellington Road, and the Old Lyndhurst, I think we should look at it a little bit more and see if there could be some special resolution there. I've also been told by the owner of the property, and I went out, I looked at the site, I walked through the whole area, looked at it, and the owner said that there is absolutely no intention of regular shooting there. With the COVID and things going on, the families went out there. They've had picnics there and things like that, but they went out there and they were just having their family there, doing some practice shooting at a very safe distance into a very safe background. And they are all licensed, and the ones that were not, that were practicing there under licensed supervision, will be getting gun licenses. So I think maybe we should look at this a little bit more and see if we can come up with something general on how close to populated areas we could be or not be. And that would include very strongly Union, Sparta, Belmont. I was surprised that we didn't have anything. And the last thing I would like to say is I would like to know what exactly Port Stanley has to address this, because apparently Port Stanley is the only area when the Central Elgin amalgamation happened that actually has something in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I think Lloyd had a map up at one point. Maybe, Mr. Perrin, you could bring the map up again. The key thing, the one concern we had, there could be, there's some road right-of-ways through that area, and we just wanted to make sure that where this is not on any of those road right-of-ways. When I spoke to Mr. Dodds today, he said that he knew exactly where the Captain Shore right-of-way was, and the bridge, the MTO bridge, and that was not on his property, on the property they were using. But I'm not certain with the map, how do we figure out exactly where we are? Mr. Leach? See, Lloyd's got it. He's got it highlighted there in blue. So that's where the shooting area was. Maybe Mr. Fair, you can tell us exactly where in that section?
Yes, if you just move up towards the left and up to the center where you see that white area. Just keep right up there along the south side of that area, not the north side, the south side. Right exactly there is where it was. And you can see it's pointed, if you look to the right-hand side of all that blue line, that is where that public path is. But the shooting was there directly into there, so there's no way that it could be around or it could go to Wellington Road or over. The way it was set up, it was a very, very short range, limited range shooting area. Also, I talked to the owner and I said that the public should know exactly where they're not supposed to be. And so they are, it was with reservations. They have never posted it and they didn't want to, but now because people seem to think that they're entitled to wander all over that property, they will be putting up signs. And I said it was for their safety and the public safety. So there will be no trespassing signs all around the easterly perimeter and the northerly perimeter. And so it will be well posted, well marked, and it has really been cleaned out, so it's wide open space.
Thank you. Ms. Keach, do you have any comments to make?
Madam Mayor, I did provide the report and provided a couple samples of bylaws. Respecting Councillor Fair's question with Port Stanley. Port Stanley has an old bylaw that goes back 30 to 40 years, and it's just a blanket exemption for the discharge of any firearms in what was the limits of the former village of Port Stanley. Fairly similar to St. Thomas. St. Thomas's discharge bylaw goes back to 1976 and is basically a blanket discharge. The exceptions are for police or for someone, a bylaw officer, to discharge a gun to disperse birds, essentially. And that's the only exemptions in the St. Thomas bylaw. Both of those are very, very old bylaws, whereas the Middlesex Center bylaw or even the City of London bylaw are more current bylaws in development and do allow for further exemptions. So the Middlesex Center bylaw may be the best or most applicable to Central Elgin because, like Central Elgin, they're an amalgamated municipality with a number of built-up areas and an extensive rural area as well. So that may be a good starting point if council was interested in doing a discharge bylaw. And there's a map part that shows the communities where there would be some restrictions on the discharge of firearms, and includes the surrounding area. But the balance of the municipality that's shown in white in those maps, there's no restrictions other than federal gun restrictions on the discharge of firearms.
Bill Fair, could I comment once more?
Go ahead.
What I would like to see, and what I have been talking to a number of people about, is to get more public input on this. Reasoned input, not something that gets out of line, of course. But I would like to see about getting a little bit more input from the public. And also I did tell people that we wouldn't be doing anything without more public consultation. So what I would like to explore is something that says, 300 meters or whatever from a populated area, something along those lines, because I certainly do not want to infringe on the shooting the club in Cowan Park, and I don't want to infringe on any country farmers or anyone outside. So I would be asking for something very, very specific to the surrounding or perimeter of populated areas.
Thank you. Councillor Fair, your comments and questions, please. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
To be very blunt, I think we're overreacting here. In the history of Central Elgin, 22 or 3 years now, I cannot recall any other issues, and going back through the Yarmouth, one thing that staff have right now is very little free time. We are so overworked and burdened this pandemic. I just hate to see us taking on more projects when really there isn't a lot of problem out there. To be quite honest, we've got a family in Belmont. We've got a neighbor with more dogs than is allowed, barking, keeping them up. And they've been waiting for us to take action for 4 or 5 months. And, you know, if I were them looking at this, I'd wonder why jump on this here and run with it. There's other things more important. I'm sorry, this is important, but I think we found out that it really isn't a problem.
Fiona?
Go ahead, Fiona.
I tend to agree with Tom. I don't see an issue with a bylaw. Having a bylaw will protect residents, but will also protect those people who are following the guidelines, such as this family was. I guess one question I would like to know, sort of under that Middlesex bylaw, would this have been an issue? Would it have gone any further, or would it have been shut down because they were operating within the guidelines of the bylaw?
Mr. Leach, would you like to respond?
Madam Mayor, to Councillor Roberts, that I think would be difficult to answer because you know, in the case of the Middlesex Center bylaw, some of the surrounding area around the populated areas are included in restricted area. This is a property that's around Lyndhurst, the built-up area, and it really depends how much land surrounding the built-up homes and neighborhoods, commercial properties that you take, whether it's 300 meters or some lesser distance. So it's hard to say, you know, if you know, we're doing what Middlesex Center did, whether this was included or not. I think if we were doing a bylaw, we'd have to look at each community sort of specific and maybe take into account also the topography of the area surrounding valleys, streams, that type of thing, versus just farm fields.
Bill Fair, could I comment again, please?
Yes, Bill, go ahead.
I sort of take issue. It's much different than a dog issue. And it's and I don't think we can just completely ignore the people that were concerned. And there was one girl was riding her bike and she went home terrified because she heard the gunshots. I know it was not something that endangered life or anything, but it was a scary thing for her. What my preference would be is that we open this up somehow to the community, the community to give us some input, especially from that area. I want to be fair to all sides, but I want to see how much public input we've got from this to determine how strongly we should react, or if we should react, or how we should react. But I think the more common sense, reasoned approach would be to allow someone somewhere to have a spot where they could email, contact, leave information from both sides and see what it looks like, and then based on that public input, then determine if we need to go ahead with the bylaw, which I think we do, but what the bylaw will look like based on public input. That's what I would like to see. I do not think that we should just sit silently and ignore and say we'll go on just the way it is. I think it is a real issue. There are people that are really concerned, both sides, and I think we should give the opportunity for them to all put their input in, and then let's make a level-headed decision on how we go forward.
Thank you, Fiona. I see you wish to speak.
Yeah, again, as I said, I kind of agree with Tom, just because, you know, how many times have we had this issue? But I don't think there's an issue with looking into it. I do have a concern though with the amount of time, because as soon as we open up this box, there's no closing it, that's for sure. So we've just entered a fight because all I hear about now is people's complaints with the new gun laws that have come out. So I think this is just going to fall hand in hand with it. So I think we just need to prepare ourselves for what's coming, because we will have two sides, and two very vocal sides, I think, about this. But yeah, I think a bylaw is not a bad idea, because it does protect residents, but it also protects those people who follow the rules and have the properties and would like to be able to use their firearms appropriately. So again, it's worth looking into. I'm just not sure about the amount of time that goes with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Dennis, you wish to speak?
Regards to this issue, I think it's a difficult one to handle in different areas. And one of the worst areas probably for us to make an applicable bylaw would be the Lyndhurst area. We don't have control what happens across the road in Southwold. So if we were to restrict areas within our municipality, that's not going to solve the issue. It's anybody that has a gun or has a gun license or FAC, they're a responsible person. They're not just going to be some cowboy shooting up a storm somewhere. It's not the etiquette of the people that have the firearms. So I think it's something that is a self-policing issue. And to open this up, we have a two-sided fight on this, and it would be really hard to handle. So I think we have enough control with the guns as it is. I don't think we have restrictions on times. There is a current bylaw within municipality that covers the entire municipality on discharge of firearms. And I think that's the step, that's enough of a step that's taken. And I think we should respect the gun owners on this.
Just one comment I make is that this is not just limited to Lyndhurst. We've had in the last, say, 10 years, there've been at least 3 problems in Sparta where the police were called because people in the village itself were discharging firearms in the village. Target practice basically, or shooting at pigeons, but it was right in the built-up area of the village. And so I think if we do a bylaw, it basically would be in only the built-up areas. And I do think that we shouldn't be allowing discharge of firearms in built-up areas. So I'm not certain where we go with this. It is going to take time. It isn't going to happen right away. And I do believe the family involved here were being very responsible and doing it correctly. But I also understand young people or children's fear when they hear gunshots, etc. I'm sure all of us question it when we hear gunshots. So I don't know where we want to go from here. Any suggestions that you have?
Bill Fair again.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. I wonder if there's some sort of a forum or a depository or something, whatever you want to call it, that people could email in to with their concerns and so on, just sort of to accumulate the information and then look at it. And I would even be willing to look at if there was a central location that they could email everything to, and then we could look at it and see what kind of information or suggestions are coming in on this. I definitely think that we have to come up with something for populated areas, and I don't think that we can just leave this. I realize fully that the owners of the property were responsible. They were following all the rules. I just think that we have to give the citizens an opportunity to put all of their input into it, and then sort of go through it all and see what we think we should do, or what can be done, or how it should be regulated to make sure that something doesn't happen. Just as you said in Sparta, they were gunfire was happening in a populated area. Right now, I mean, that would be dangerous, so it would be against the rules anyway in a populated area right inside. But I just think that we should have an open forum that allows people to put their input, and then then we could make a reasoned decision on how we deal with it. That would be my preference. And again, I have said my preference is no shooting in that area.
Thank you. Mr. Leach, how would we propose going about this?
What I would suggest, Madam Mayor, is that we have the Let's Talk Central Elgin website. We could create a project around a firearm discharge, and within that include some information about what a bylaw could look like. But there's also a survey element to that, so we could include a survey. And once the results of that survey came back, then council could review those results and then decide whether it wished to proceed further or not. So that was the best method of engaging the public, I'd suggest at this time.
That sounds like an excellent idea. Go ahead, Mr. Fair.
Yes, I would like to see something like that. I don't want to close the door to this. I'd like to listen to people, and I think that would be an excellent starting point to see where this will take us.
Would you like to? Yes, go ahead, Tom.
To be clear, I'm not against always side on the side of safety, especially for kids. To me, it's just like right now, I don't know where we find the time. So maybe a survey, and just try not to make this a huge priority right now, because I think we have more pressing issues.
Bill Fair once more.
Go ahead, Bill.
I would be willing to help with that site to take some of the work off of administration. I would monitor it, and I would look at it also. I think we should give it some time for it to come in, but I would be willing to be very hands-on with this project.
It seems to me, they probably should make a motion that we put it up on Let's Talk Central Elgin with a survey aspect to it. And then we'll see if there's a seconder and what the will of the council are.
I would make the motion that we should get public opinion in regards to the shooting in that area, and but that particular area at this point, so we can get public input to determine whether we should proceed with a bylaw restricting gunfire in that area. And I would say we should set up a forum, as Mr. Leach has suggested, and move forward with that and accumulate information. And then after we glean through that, determine where we're going to go.
I don't think we should do it just in one area. If it's going to be a bylaw, it has to, be effective throughout the built-up areas of the whole municipality. So I wouldn't just limit it to that area, but open that survey up to anyone living in Central Elgin to put input in.
I would view that as a friendly amendment, and I'm fine with that.
Do we have someone who would like to second this motion?
It's Colleen, I will.
Sorry. Colleen seconds the motion. Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask Diane to call the vote. I'm sorry, Diane, write out the motion and read it first. She's trying to do that, so for a moment. I don't know if you can see everybody all the time, but you guys go in and out all the time. Right now, I've got most of you, but
it's Bill Fair. Could I take this opportunity just to ask a question in regards to this?
yes, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, I did have some people contact me saying that they might want to listen in or participate in the meeting. Did we actually get people that are in the gallery or that have signed up to listen in on this meeting?
We are live streaming the meeting on Facebook. Many people, we told them they just had to go to Central Facebook. We even had a phone call here just before the meeting started. There are people probably listening in on the live stream, but they don't have to register. They just tune into Facebook and they are able to live stream it.
Madam Mayor, it's Don Leach. Just looking at Facebook, I think we've got about 27 comments now on the live stream, and people indicating they are watching.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. You ready, Diane?
No.
Go ahead. No.
Just for clarification, Madam Mayor, through to council, is it council's intent at this time to defer the report that Mr. Leach has prepared until you receive the comments back from the survey?
Be my understanding, is that what the council understands, that we're not acting on this at the moment? We're just going to put the project up on Let's Talk Central Elgin and a survey and let people make comments, and then we'll determine whether we're proceeding at all with a bylaw or not.
Bill Fair here, and I'm saying yes.
We'll just give Diane a chance to finish writing the motion then. When she's ready, I'll have her read it.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I've prepared something, and certainly council can indicate to me if they want anything further after I read it. Okay, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Fair, seconded by Councillor Rowe, that council direct staff to create a project/survey on Let's Talk Central Elgin to engage public comment respecting a Central Elgin bylaw for the discharge of firearms for the entire municipality, and further that council defer report CO 0820 until such time as the comments have been received.
Could you add for the entire municipality, but put in the built-up areas of the entire municipality? I don't want people to suddenly think we're trying to affect farms in rural areas, because that's not the point of it. It's in built-up areas. Does that meet with your approval, Mr. Fair?
Yes, it does.
Colleen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've made that a friendly amendment to the motion, Madam Mayor, for the municipality, and in brackets I've put up built-up areas.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Hello?
Dennis, go ahead.
In regards to that, it should be noted in the survey that Fort Stanley will be excluded because there already is a full restriction in the area. And we have to note that just so we're not getting overwhelmed with comments about different areas. So I'd like to see something like that involved with the survey as well.
Mr. Leach, is that possible?
Madam Mayor, it is possible. I think I would be suggesting, though, that if we actually were going to go forward and enact a bylaw, that we would repeal the old Port Stanley bylaw and include Port Stanley in the new bylaw so that exemptions are consistent throughout the municipality and there aren't specific rules for the former village of Port Stanley, which really has no relationship and boundaries to what people consider the community of Port Stanley today. That would be the suggestion of staff, I think, if council was to enact a bylaw.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we call the vote? If not, Diane, go ahead and call the vote.
Councillor Cook?
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz?
Yes.
Councillor Fair?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks? Councillor Roberts? I'm sorry, Councillor Roberts?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Rowe?
Yes.
And Mayor Martin?
Yes.
The resolution passes.
Thank you. Okay, CAO report 0920, our water rates, and you did get a copy of the water rate study that Gary Scanlon had produced for us, and why we, how we came up with the rates. At present, we have the rates frozen at the 2019 level. We've had a lot of requests for other forms of relief. And so I did tell people we would discuss it. And possibly we are having budget meetings next week. So it probably, the full discussion will occur then. But I just like to give you a chance now to make comments, if you would, about water rates. Anyone who'd like to make them.
Madam Mayor, it's Colleen.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Yeah. So I do look forward to the study, I guess, that they're doing on the current 2020 rates and the current information that we have right now. But I just to make note, if I read the information correctly that we've had in the study, the forecast for the growth was to have 282 new homes over 10 years. And if I look at the monthly building reports over the past few years, there's been 216 in 2 years. So we're well ahead, I think, of the growth that was predicted in the 2018 study. So I'm hoping, I guess, that will be taken into consideration in the new report that we will see hopefully in the near future.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Bill Fair.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'm just wondering. I know I've got a lot of people in my ward that are, talking about that our water rates and sewer rates are so much higher than St. Thomas and surrounding area. But specifically, I'm wondering about water. We supply water for the other municipalities through our processing water plant and so on. I guess I'm not saying let's gouge, but are we able to charge more to the other municipalities that would possibly subsidize our Central Elgin water rates? I would really like something. The people that I talk to are not so happy even about just maintaining the status quo, but they're looking much more at reduction. And also, if there was any kind of an increased proposal, I would definitely not want it in 2020.
Bill, we don't set that water is supplied by the Elgin water system. That is not Central Elgin's. We pay them as well for water. We do not control what they charge anyone. They charge all of us the same, as far as I know. Maybe Mr. Perrin or Mr. Leach or Brooks could respond to that.
Okay. Madam Mayor, the Elgin area water system is jointly owned by the municipalities that secure water supply from the water treatment facility. So it includes Central Elgin. It includes most of the municipalities in the County of Elgin, also includes the City of London. There is a board of management that oversees the operation for the owning municipalities. They completely separately review rates, approve budgets for the water supply system, and set the water rates. So Central Elgin does have a say in that process through our representative or alternate that sits on the board of management. So it's not without any kind of say, but the board of management has to look at the overall water supply and maintaining the that water system for all of the benefiting municipalities.
Thank you. And I believe it's Councillor Kravitz that sits on that board.
Yes,
And
it is.
the one thing I did notice too, that we need to look at that comparison of residential annual water and wastewater bills. And we're not the highest. Malahide and Middlesex Center and Bayham, but Malahide and Bayham specifically in Elgin County are higher than we are, quite a bit higher than than we are. So that was interesting to look at, to be reminded of that too, that we are not the highest. We are always accused of being the highest, but we are not. So anyway, that's just a thought. I think we're going to be looking at this carefully. Time as Councillor Rowe expressed that Ramona will be bringing a more detailed report to us on exactly what it has cost us. And as you know, all of you know that we have to, as municipality, we have to balance our budget. And if we do increases or we cut back on that, we don't get money. The province can do that and borrow money. So can the federal government. We cannot as a municipality. And what we're spending is just what we're charging is exactly to pay for what we have spent. It is not the expansion of the plant in Port Stanley. Some of it was required because our other plant was at full capacity and couldn't take any more. But any expansion that included for the subdivisions, et cetera, in the new build out in Port Stanley, that is all under development charges. Most of the rest is paying for the actual costs plus the debt that we've incurred to put water and wastewater into places that were absolutely necessary health and safety wise. So it's something we will consider at budget time, not making decisions tonight, but the people are live streaming and listening tonight to know what we're talking about, and they are very welcome to listen to our budget things as well, which maybe at the end of the meeting here we can announce when that's going to be.
Fair.
Ramona had her hand up and then Bill. Ramona, if you'd like to go first and then Bill.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that it's important to realize that we do have some time pressures on our tax-funded budget, and we're proposing to bring the tax-funded budget forward first next week, and then bring the rate-funded budget, being the water and sewer rates, forward after that.
Thank you. So we won't be looking at water and wastewater Monday or Tuesday. Correct? Okay, that's correct. Go ahead, Mr. Ferry, you had a question or a comment?
Yes, this one is directed to Lloyd Perrin, who sort of hovers over everything, if you will. I'm just wondering, Lloyd specifically, I know we've talked a few times about the leakage, if you will, because of old meters and poor metering. Have you ever been able to get a reasonably good grip on what kind of revenues we're losing based because of the poor metering, or have you not been able to sort of determine what the leakage is, if you will?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Fair, our leakage is approximately 10% our water loss. So that water loss is equated or is derived from a number of things. So it's leaky services that are beyond property line that the municipality is not responsible for. The majority of our system is new. It's been replaced since 2001. And then there is inaccuracies in the meter, each individual residential meter, in that they're old turbine meters, so they don't actually read every bit of water that goes through them. As meters get old, their accuracy goes the kind of in the reverse direction, in that they don't register more consumption or more water coming into the residence than what actually is occurring. It actually records, doesn't record all the water that's coming into the residence. So there is a portion of that water loss from our perspective, because we actually purchase water from the Elgin area primary system. So we have to purchase the water and then sell the water, but what we sell is less than what the quantity that we sell is not as much as what we purchase.
Thank you. Other questions?
Yes,
Follow up? Oh.
Go ahead. Oh, Councillor Kravitz and Councillor Fair.
Well, I just wanted to make a statement on, Lloyd had mentioned that it's 10% water, but we are actually less than 10%. 10% is a provincial standard. You're allowed to have up to 10% water loss, and we are definitely under the 10%. Definitely way under the 10%.
Councillor Fair.
When maybe my term leakage was a bad one to use. What I sort of meant was the balance between, as Mr. Perrin said, the water that comes in that we pay for and the water that we bill out. I guess it's hard to say to say what the real unbilled slip by, if you will, on the old meters is. But I know at one point we thought, I at least thought possibly that there was enough slipping by the old meters that to put in new meters, we would recover the cost within a couple of years just based on proper billing. So that was sort of the intent. I was trying to say, see if you want to venture a guess, or if you don't want to venture a guess at what you think we're losing because of the old meters.
We wouldn't be in a, sorry, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
We wouldn't be in a position to give you an exact percentage, but general rule of thumb, it can be as high as 10% that inaccuracy on a meter, depending on the vintage of the meter. So we have meters that are well over 25, 30 years old in some parts of the municipality that actually are still registering in gallons rather than cubic meters. So those ones there would definitely be probably in the order of magnitude of a 10% discrepancy.
I just think you need to realize, though, Councillor Fair, that if we put in the new meters and they do record it accurately and people's usage goes up 5, 10%, whatever, because of the new meter being accurate, that may not make us popular either. We'll have to see. I do know that it is a struggle for people. They are having a hard time, and the COVID situation has been very difficult. We have to figure out ways we're going to collect this money at some point, and it has to be water and wastewater has to be through the users. It can't be through general taxes. So we will be discussing this at budget, but I'm going to ask, I believe Diane has a motion, and I'll ask her to read that now and further discuss before we vote.
Mayor Martin, it's Tom. May I make a comment, please?
Certainly.
As an elected official, the two constant things I hear is the cost of our water and traffic concerns constantly. And we've been here almost a year and a half, and that's the constant message we're getting. And that's sort of my frustration. We had a robust discussion on our last motion. I'm very, very happy with the result. But I can sense the people out there listening tonight, and the word gets out. They were expecting some answers tonight. We're giving them none. We're going to say we're going to do another study. I think we're way past that. You and I were at that public meeting and got beat up pretty bad. People are asking, I think it's where we're failing. We're not educating them. We're not explaining ourselves, because obviously they are still not getting it. Thank you.
I don't asking for another study to be done. We're just going to look at the actual costs that have been occurred, and we have the study done by Watson and Associates, and we'll be just looking to see if it's accurate.
Madam Mayor, I think the main purpose of the review is that when the Watson study was done in 2018, there were projections based on how much revenue we would be receiving in 2019, 2020. There were projections. We've had 3 years of reality actuals to look at. So we want to look at the actuals for those that last year, where we are this year, and compare those with the Watson projections. Are we ahead of the game? Are we behind what we were looking at? And does that create options for council? The main part of the water rate is going towards financing the debt that's been incurred in the past that have been made to the water system. Over the last 20 some years, we've essentially rebuilt the entire water system in Centennial, including the water treatment facility in Belmont that serves the community of Belmont. So if one is to take a look at the presentation slides from the 2018 presentation by Watson's, you'll see a couple graphs or charts in there that are colorized that basically show that the majority of the water rate, the majority of the wastewater rate is actually going towards funding the capital work that's been carried out throughout Central Elgin over the last 20 some years. Towards the end of this decade, actually starting about 2026, the rate or the debt will start to fall off a bit, but with some of the debentures being retired. But there's not a great deal of flexibility. The other thing we want to take a look at is what has been the impact of COVID on water usage over the last couple. And it's not people in their houses so much as overall. Some communities or municipalities are expecting to experience a large drop in revenue because industry, higher water users are not in operation right now. So that's going to negatively impact their revenue. The other factor for us is that a good portion of our debt is being paid by growth through development charges. And depending what happens with the development in this industry later this year, we may see a decline in development charges as well, revenue, that may impact council's flexibility to maneuver with altering water rates. So we want to get a sense of where we may be going with development and development charges revenue this year. So there's a number of factors impacting on the rates for water and wastewater and what it may look like for this year. So we want to cover those off and give a complete analysis to council when we do so. And I think we're anticipating later this month to do that.
Thank you. Any other comments before Diane read this motion? Go ahead, Diane.
Madam Mayor, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Kravitz, seconded by Deputy Mayor Marks, that report CO 0920 water and wastewater rates be received as information.
Thank you. And we are going to be discussing it later. This is not the end of it. We just have to see where and if we can make any adjustments on what we have done, increasing it. I'll ask Diane to call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. And now to CAO 1020, council remuneration. Would you like motion first, Diane, and then we'll discuss it.
Madam Mayor, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Marks, seconded by Councillor Rowe, that report CAO 1020 council remuneration be received as information.
Does anyone want to make comments on this?
Bill Fair.
Go ahead, Bill.
I like this this review. I think it's very worthwhile exercise given the tremendous variation between the lowest and the highest for general meetings or outside meetings. So I think it's a very good idea so that we clear the air, see exactly what should or should not have been invoiced, and so everyone is very clear on what was being charged for the public meetings, and that will certainly give information on why there was such a variance of between roughly $7,000 between the lowest and the highest. So I look forward to this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll ask Diane to call the vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Those are all the reports that we have. We just are moving to bylaws now. Would you like to read the motion, Diane?
Yes. First motion on the bylaws, Your Worship, moved by Councillor Kravitz, seconded by Councillor Rowe, that bylaws 2480 and 2481 be taken collectively.
Any comments? Call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts, Councillor Roberts,
She's having problems unmuting, so she's giving a thumbs up.
okay.
Hello, yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
sorry.
Okay. Councillor Rowe
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next motion, please.
Next motion, Madam Mayor, moved by Deputy Mayor Marks, seconded by Councillor Kravitz, that bylaws 2480 and 2481 be read a first and a second time.
Call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carried.
Thank you. Final motion.
Last motion on the bylaws, Your Worship, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Marks, that bylaws 2480 and 2481 be read a third time and finally passed.
Call the vote.
Councillor Cook
Yes.
and Councillor Kravitz,
Yes. Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. We have no public notice or resolutions, but there are some items probably of new business. I just wanted to give an update on staffing, just so we held a meeting, but the public probably aren't aware of that we'd had 9 of our staff on emergency leave, but today, all our staff are back to work. And they're just working from different locations to keep the social distancing. But we do need to get some things cleaned up. A lot of our things are still closed, as you know, and our office is still closed. But just so you know that they all came back to work as of today. And we're looking at all the things that we need to do to open the office before the office does it, so that it will be a safe reopening. So that's just an update. Does anyone else have some new business they wish to bring up?
Bill Fair.
Hey, Bill.
Yes, I did get, I'm getting a lot of inquiries about the Crescent Ave project. Some are quite strong, and I know Jeff did respond to me by email, but I would like a public response so that the people can actually see what the thought is. If we think that it's going to happen, I certainly hope it is this year. I just wonder if you could let the public know what's happening with phase 3, Jeff.
Go ahead, Mr. Burns.
Sure. So phase 3 has been, we have the engineering design. The engineering design was approved in 2019. So engineering design has been completed. We are ready to tender the project. However, for each of these projects, we need to get an environmental compliance approval. That approval has not come in. So we sent the application back in the fall to MECP. I'm expecting we would get that sometime here in the near future. That all being said, staff is working on the 2020 capital budget. We're putting all those numbers together this week in preparation for council to sit down and make some decisions next week on which priorities and projects it would like to proceed with. So at this time, before council sees what all the priorities are and projects are, it's too early to give a date on when that project will proceed.
Thank you. Also, just hang on for, I know that also we, being as late in the season as it's getting for tendering out things and getting them completed, that's going to be challenging. Plus, we know that budget-wise, we may not have as much money for our capital projects this year because this has been a tough year. We don't know all the effects yet on our finances from COVID-19 and how many people are going to really struggle to pay their taxes, especially the commercial ones whose businesses have been, and even the private people, homes that their job has been closed down during this time. So it's going to be tough, and our budget time is going to be tough. And Bill, go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say is yes, I was wondering about given late in the season, but you know, I'm getting and I understand the frustration with the old Lyndhurst people areas that they've been waiting and waiting for many years, and I would just like to say that, in my opinion, I would willing to stop almost everything just to make sure that Lyndhurst happens.
Any other questions or comments on what Councillor Ferris brought up? Seeing none, is there any new business?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Certainly, Tom.
Tomorrow at County Council, we're receiving a report from SWIFT to hopefully improve the internet across the county. I think there's some good news in it, but still not going to be the solution. And I believe I've chatted with you and Mr. Leach recently about doing more in Central Elgin to improve the internet capabilities. Anyone that's gone through this last couple of months trying to do things, there's a lot of people out here struggling, and it's can't remember the number of school children trying to do homework without it. It is a huge problem. I would suggest that, I'm not going to suggest we strike up a committee tonight, but I would urge council maybe to give Mr. Leach direction to check with some of the county CAOs, and I think we need to do more in Central Elgin. There's probably opportunities to partner with our neighbors, Malahide and Southwold, because it's not just a Central Elgin problem. But I think, if anything, this pandemic has proven to us that we are woefully inadequate. It is not going to get better until we can make it. There are solutions, but they're dependent on us reaching out and doing it.
Thank you. I certainly agree. I'm sitting here in council chambers, which I normally wouldn't be, but it's the only place I can get the WebEx because I do not have high-speed internet at home. Any other new business? And I think Mr. Leach can bring us a report on that, but listening to tomorrow's report at County Council will be important as well, and making sure Mr. Leach knows what's happening there. Any other new business anyone would like to bring up? Here Hearing none. We do not have a closed session, so I guess the final motion, Diane.
Madam Mayor, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Cravitz, that the regular meeting of council be adjourned at 9:17 p.m. and the next regular planning meeting of council be scheduled for Monday, May the 25th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you. Call the vote.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Cravitz, Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks, Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Roberts,
Yes.
Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries, Martin.
Thank you. That is, we are adjourned then, and thank you all for, you've all come back on screen. You disappeared for a while, but you're back. Thank you very much.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.